The Ngozi Cadmus Show presents the bridge between faith, entrepreneurship, and leadership. My name is Ngozi Cadmus, and I'm a mental health and leadership expert. I represent the average woman and equip women of faith to walk in their divine calling, master their thoughts, and love themselves so that they can level up spiritually, mentally, and financially. Hello, welcome to the Ngozi Cadmus Show podcast, episode 10. It means it's been 10 weeks of consistent weekly episodes. For those that are listening, hey, I'm doing a little dance. Thank you. My name is Ngozi Cadmus, and I am your host for the Ngozi Cadmus podcast show. And I am a faith-based woman. I'm a mental health and leadership expert, and I help women of faith become the leaders they've been destined to be. And I'm a speaker, and I'm a consultant, and I train, organizations to diversify their leadership and ensure that there is a pipeline, an advancement pipeline that is transparent, so Black women specifically can elevate and advance their careers into leadership. So today's topic, I think, is a very important one. It's a very, very important topic because it affects every single person that is watching this podcast or listening. It is, outgrowing friendships. And what does that mean to outgrow friendships? You hear people say that all the time. And you hear some people say, well, I cut somebody off if they do this, and I cut somebody off if they're not useful for me, and I cut somebody off. And I think as I've grown, and the thing is, I'm in my 30s, right? In my 20s, if you asked me that, it would have been different. Maybe even in my 40s, it might be different. But I think that you should try as much as possible to maintain all relationships, unless it's dangerous to do so. You know where I'm getting to. There are some circumstances that is actually dangerous. If that's not the case, I think maintain all relationships. And if relationships outgrow, always make sure there's an open door. So if you see each other, it's all love, right? And I mean some people might cut you off, because I've been cut off. Like, the thing is, what's so funny about outgrowing friendships is that it's usually the person saying that I've terminated friendships or I've outgrown is coming from a kind of a, that person's just not on my level anymore, And it's like, I think if we could all put a hand up that we've been cut off. I've probably been cut off as a friend a few times, and I know I wasn't a bad person, but they felt that they had to cut me off because I was no longer beneficial for their life, or we were no longer walking in tandem. Or it could have been from jealousy, I don't know. But the point is, I've been cut off. And I know that because I'm like, when 1 minute we're cool and we're talking, next minute that we're not. And I may have also cut people off, or I have distanced myself purposely, unintentionally, what have you, from other people. We do that. But one of the reasons why I think we outgrow friendships, right? And the question is, what is a friend? That is a definition that you have to answer. I say that because there's too many definitions of friendships that we all have. I might think you're a friend, you might see me as an acquaintance. I might think you're a friend, you might see me more as a sister. I might think you're as a friend, and you might have different levels of friendships. We use friendships loosely. But what is a friend? The biblical definition of a friend is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. How many friends can do that? Actually, maybe very few, right? I think it's really good to demark friendships. I've got like core friends, inner circle friends, which might be the same thing, and then inner circle core friends, then good friends, and then generic friends that I say they're friends, but really they're acquaintances. But I'm not going to call you an acquaintance because that's a bit rude. So I'll call you a friend, but I know what that means, and you know what that means. You know what I mean? There's friends that you're not going to be invited to a small gathering, but you might be invited to a big party. Or you might not be invited to the ceremony of their wedding, but you'd be invited to the reception. Like, there's levels of friendship that you understand, so I'm not offended. It only becomes an issue if you feel closer to somebody, and then when you're not invited to their ceremony, you're like, rah, I thought we were closer. That's usually when the issue occurs. But I think it's important that, you know where you stand with somebody. So that would be my definition of friend. I've given kind of a loose, general, giving examples of a definition. So I haven't got a definition, but I would say somebody that sticks closer to you than a brother. At the same time, friends may not be friends for everything. I might have a friend that sticks closer to me than a brother, but I can't talk to you about business. And if business is right now all I am doing, there might be a bit of distance in aspects, but you are a friend indeed. It's just that this part of my life, that's a big part of my life, I can't share it with you as much because you may not be on the same trajectory. And it's about really, it can be very hard to outgrow friendships, right? People outgrow friendships because maybe the trajectory of your life is different. Maybe you're not a mother and your friends are all mothers, or maybe you're in a relationship and your friends are not in a relationship, or maybe you divorced and your friends are all married, or maybe your friends are not working and you are working, and maybe you're traveling and your friends are not. You see, the trajectory of your life might be different, and then that might cause some distance to friends. But that's why it's important about knowing what is your definition of friendship, because that friend can still be a close friend to you, but you both recognize that where you are in life is slightly different, and there may not be as much to talk about. But if I need you, you're there for me. If you need me, I'm there for you. It just might mean that every single day we don't talk because I'm out there traveling, and I'm more closer now in terms of proximity to those that are doing the same thing as me. But I know that they are not the people that I will call to if I need money in an emergency. Do you get what I mean? So I really think it's important, because what people tend to do is that if they are starting a business, for instance, they cut off all their friends because maybe their mindset is different. And I get that. If your mindset is different and you feel like your friends are keeping you down, are not encouraging you, then yeah, I would say you got to change your network, because your network is your net worth, as they say, right? But your network is your net worth, but not everyone in your network is a bedroom. Not everyone in your network is a friend. Not everyone in your network will be there for you, God forbid, when you have a car accident. You got to remember that. So when you hear those statements, please understand that just because your network is your net worth, the part of your net worth may not be there when you need them the most. You might be able to say that in my net worth, I've got people that are worth millions of pounds, but would that person be there for you if one day you're locked out of all of your accounts? It's going to take 3 months to get your money back, and you need to borrow 30, 40, 50, 60k, and you'll pay them back. Would that person be there for you? They might just be just as unhelpful as the friend that you say ain't got no money. I'm just putting out different scenarios to demonstrate that it goes beyond just what you're currently doing right now. It really, to me, is about what are the values you share with your friends. Do you have similar values? I'm not talking about creating an echo chamber with people that everyone believes exactly as you do, and you don't have different thoughts and opinions to challenge you. But do you have concentric values that you believe are at your core, and do they agree with that? Sometimes people in life change, their values change, and therefore I am no longer consistent with that value structure. I don't want to be friends with that person anymore, or we outgrow each other. The expectations might change. You might have changed the trajectory of your life. You might be now married, and that friend still demands your time and your attention that you were single, and you don't have that time and attention, and that person feels, wait a minute, you shouldn't change because you're married. It's like, well, I should change because I'm married, because I've got different priorities. So therefore, friendships outgrow each other because priorities change. What may have been important for me at age 25 may not be as important to me at 35. And maybe the person that you're friends with at 35 is no longer, doesn't have the same priorities as you, is still operating from 25, right? Sometimes people experience trauma, and because they experience trauma, they relate with you from that place because they have unhealed that, and it affects the relationship. It brings toxicity into the relationship. Sometimes you outgrow friendships because you realize that you're the one carrying the friendships, and when you stop pouring into others, they don't pour into you. So there's lack of reciprocity and mutuality. I really believe friendship should be reciprocal. What that means is that I don't mean that if I give you £10, you give me £10. It might be I'm a monetary giver, but you are a giver of your time. I'm a drive you to that place, but you find the places for us to go. There needs to be some reciprocity. If you feel that you're constantly giving in a particular area, but you're not getting back in at least any other area, there's an issue. You don't expect to get from what you give. Meaning that if I give you money, I don't expect that person to give me money, because that may not be one, they can do that, and that may not be the area that they give. Maybe they give in time, maybe they give in other types of resources, right? I've got friends who support me, that I've said this before in another podcast, in proofreading my work. Don't ask, well, I do, I'm a good proofreader, but don't ask me why I've done it, because I can't tell you. I'm just good at proofreading, right? But I'm actually quite busy, so a lot of people won't give me the work to proofread because they are aware that I am quite busy. But I might be like, here's 20 quid to get somebody on Fiverr because I ain't got the time. Then we just bless you in that. That's the way I would bless somebody. I made other points that I want to look at in terms of. So I would also say, if at all possible, try not to terminate friendships. You know what? Because let me be very, very, very honest. Let me be very honest. You don't know if that person in future might be supportive to you in your future direction of your life. So try not to end badly. Sometimes just you grow apart. But for me, if I grow apart from somebody, if I see you, it's all love. I'm a kind of picker-upper of like awkwardness. So if somebody's awkward, I get awkward. So if you're like, oh hi, I'll be like, oh hi too. Because I'm like, I don't know what to say if you're like that. But if you're like, hey, I'll be like, hi. Do you know what I mean? That's just how it is. If somebody's awkward with me, I'm awkward. Now, I don't know if I present the awkwardness. I might be internally awkward. I might not actually present it. But I'd be awkward in my head, because in my head I'm like, if you're awkward, that makes me awkward. But I know that if I meet somebody I haven't spoken to in a long time, I'm like, girl, what's up? Look. One time, I would say a quick story. I was doing my master's in psychotherapy, and I was with a colleague. And I saw a person who bullied me, or bullied bare people actually. But we've been okay. I've seen her a few times. She came to my house for a Bible study I was leading. And essentially, I saw her in, I think, Ealing, gave her a hug, and then the person asked her, who is that? I mentioned who she was, like, oh, she was a former bully in school, She was like, what? And you gave her a hug, and I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like, she just was so shocked. She even mentioned it. She just, it just, I don't know why, but it really made her think, like, how? And I'm just like, over 10 years ago or 12 years ago, like, it's all good. Hey, how are you? What's up? Are you okay? Boom, we go. Like, it really isn't. I'm not sitting there thinking about the years that you bullied me. You know, I'm not denying that there'll be some moments and times where you, like, honestly, anyone that I met that bullied me, I wouldn't feel no way. Because when I think about the trauma I experienced, because I got severely bullied, I don't really think about one individual. I can't fully remember the individuals. I just remember the cumulative effect of different people bullying me at different places, right? Physical, sexual, emotional, verbally. Like, I remember that, but I couldn't say one person was like, oh my God. So if I saw you, I wouldn't be like, you bent my finger to the point where you broke it. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be like that. And that's fortunate. That's not to reduce the fact that it has impacted me a lot, but it's just to say that if I saw a person that bullied me, honestly, I probably won't even remember. I'll be like, I know you from somewhere, and they'll be after, I go, right, Ted, you're the one that bullied me, so. So I'm glad I'm able to be like that. I get not everybody can be, but what I'm trying to say is that for me, if I see you and you've got issues with me, because I ain't got issues with you. I have not got issues with anybody. You might have issues with me. I know people that have issues with me, but I haven't got issues with you. So if I see you, I'm good with you. But if you're not good with me, then that's you ain't good with me, not me with you. So what that might mean is that it will be awkward, because if you're awkward, I will be awkward until we address it. If we have the opportunity to address it, right? If there's an opportunity to address it, we'll just both be awkward, because at the end of the day, you have an issue with me, and unfortunately, some adults cannot behave appropriately when they've got an issue with somebody. And, you know, I'm not going to get into argument with you. I just would not But I'm not going to hug you if I know that you don't want to be hugged. So you feel what I mean? But on the most part, for most people, if I see you, it's all love and it's all good. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to do that when your neck cracks. If you heard it in the podcast, I was cracking my neck. You might go, "Ooh, girl." So yeah, I hope I've really shared aspects of that. And I guess somebody might ask me, okay, Ngozi, so how do we know? How do we identify? How do we overcome? It's a process, it's an involvement. You're going to make mistakes. I analyze. I don't think I'm an over-analyzer, but I analyze. So, like I said, there's people that I feel have cut me off, and I analyzed why. I would never know because they have not told me. But I've analyzed why have they cut me off. Was I as good as a friend to them as I could have been? Maybe I wasn't. There's some that I think potentially God did it, and there's nothing I actually did. But they decided to cut me off, and that's fine. And if I see them, to me it's all love, because I have no issues with you. It might be you to me more than me to you, but I can be okay with that. I've tried to reach out to certain people and haven't been able to. It's been unsuccessful, and I'm okay that I can close that chapter knowing that I have made attempts to reconcile, and if they don't want to, I don't hold no offense to anybody. Right, because I know I've done nothing that deep to anybody, to be honest with you. So the people that I'm already thinking about, there's nothing that I've done enough to warrant if they are still angry with me, because we never even had an argument. So even the people that have cut me off, we've never had an argument. It's just 1 minute we're friends, 1 minute we're not, and I'm no longer to find you on Facebook, or I don't have your number, or I seem to be blocked. Right? You might think, what did you do, Ngozi? Honestly. But you don't always have to do anything. Some people wake up one day, they review their contacts, and they question and think, was that person there for me? For example, let me give you one live example, and then I'll end. There's a particular person who we were really close. We met at university, and she was going to be one of my bridesmaids, actually. I chose not to have her as a bridesmaid a while before I chose my bridesmaid, but there was a point in time that we were going to be both each other's bridesmaid. I invited her to my wedding, and she didn't come, but when she told me she wasn't coming, it was just like, I'm not coming to your wedding. So I knew at that point we were no longer friends, because I just feel like, even though we haven't spoken often in a while, if she invited me to her wedding and I couldn't come, I wouldn't say that. I would say, oh my gosh, girl, this is, let me call you, because I owe you that enough, even if we're not close, to say my reasons. So when I reflect back, because I'm like that, and this doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, I think about it. I think I saw a post, if my memory serves me correctly, that she may have written something about like friends and people being there, and I realized that she may have been going through something that I was truly unaware of, and I was not there for her. I did not know that I needed to be there, because I didn't know the situation. And I think she probably looked at her contacts and realized that this person wasn't there when this was occurring, so why should I be friends with them? That's genuinely what I think, because we've had no argument, there was no issues. We were getting less close anyways, I felt that, but I had enough love and respect for her to invite her to my wedding, as she was once going to be my bridesmaid, right? And vice versa. But, we grew apart. We just stopped talking. We actually shared the same values, but I think our life trajectory was going at a different. When we spoke, I don't know, I feel like there wasn't enough, like, you know what I mean? When you just bosh joke with somebody, do you know what I mean? There's that kind of resonance. We didn't have enough resonance. And I felt that maybe she felt she gave more, because she did help me at a particular point in my life. And I don't remember doing anything significant enough in a long time for her, but she didn't ask me to, and I didn't see a need for me to fulfill. So when I thought about that, I was honest to say that probably I got more out of the relationship than she did after a while. And when she needed me or needed to see people be there for her, I wasn't. And that was because I didn't know. I'm not on Facebook like that. So I didn't see a post of somebody dying, so I didn't reach out because I didn't know. So I can reflect that, and this could be wrong. She might say something totally different, like, no, I just withdrew myself. It wasn't personal. I cut everybody else off, and that could be the situation. This may not be at all the reason, But my reflection, I've been able to say that maybe I just wasn't there for her. And that is fine, because I can't be there for everybody. And if that is the case, those that I'm not there for should, and they have the right to make a decision to say, if Ngozi can't be there for me, maybe our friendship isn't what it is. Because like you said, like people say, you really can count your friends on one hand, really and truly. So technically speaking, if I've got 20 friends, I can't be there for 20 people in a way that they may need me to. So maybe out of the 20, I'm really there for 5. And those are the 5 that they're there for me, and I'm there for them. And then the others. So I'm saying that just to show you that how I have reflected on a relationship that I think ended, more so from the other side in a way. But I recognized that we were going like that. And for me, it was purely because whenever I spoke to her, I just didn't have that connection with her, like how we did when we first met. We were busting joke, laughing. It was just very serious, and I don't know, we weren't agreeing on simple things. We had values, we were both believers, but just simple things. Like if I'm talking about, I don't know, you know when you just have a conversation with somebody and just a lot of not agreeing on anything. Sometimes it's just a bit like, oh, this is just tiring. So, and it wasn't even like a major thing. I just think we just didn't click anymore. There was no laughter and joy and like busting joke. Like I've got friends that we will just sit there and look at each other and laugh, or we will see something and we'll both look at each other and we'll know. I don't think we had that anymore. It's a bit like basically there was no chemistry. That's a good word to say, actually. Oh my God, that is so good. Oh my God, thank you, God. Wow. Chemistry is important in friendship. You can have a friend with same values, even going in the same direction, but there's no chemistry. So I think that was the case, and therefore we fizzled out. But again, I have my interpretations of why. And like I said, if she sees this, yeah, we went to Reading University, so I'm going to say so she knows who it is. If you see this, reach out to me. I've got the same number. Holler at me on Facebook. I'd love to know why we fizzled out. Maybe I'll send this to her, actually. If I can, I don't know if I've got her number. It'll be good to know, because sometimes you have assumptions and thoughts, and it genuinely could be totally different. Because I've had similar situations with people that have distanced themselves, and I've apologized, saying I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been there. They're like, no, I didn't want you there. I didn't want anybody there. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, thank you. You know, because sometimes you think it's about you, but it isn't about you. People are going through things, so it ain't always about you. So yeah, that is my, I guess, thoughts on outgrowing our friendships. I hope that's really helped somebody. I guess I'm focus on analyzing how you are in a relationship and what you are not doing. Where sometimes we say, you don't do this for me, but what do you do for your friends? Like, no, what do you no, oh, I'm so helpful. No, are you helpful? Because you might think you're helpful and they tell you you're not helpful. Is that same with relationships, your love languages, the way you're showing up in your friendship group? They may interpret it very differently. You might go, I'm always there for people. I'm always calling people, making sure that they're okay. And maybe your friends see it as you're always inner, or you're gossiper, or I don't know, like you're always too fast. Like honestly, you'd be very surprised that your behavior is interpreted differently to your friends. So when you're sitting here saying, I think I'm a really good friend and I'm XYZ, one thing you can take from this is evaluate your friendships I say all the time, but maybe at least every quarter, and ask your friends. I constantly ask my friends, is there anything I can do? Am I enough for you? Am I being better for you? And when I say enough, I don't mean am I enough, because I am enough, but am I doing enough? Like, it takes two to tango. We've both got to put in work, and if I'm slacking, let me know. Pull me up on that. One of my friends constantly pulling me up on a lot of things, because at the end of the day, she wants our relationship to work and I want it to work. So we've got to make sure that we're being intentional with each other, because once you stop being intentional, relationships fizzle out, they dissolve. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Ooh, what an amazing show, if I may say so myself. Well, thank you for listening to the Ngozi Cadmus Show podcast. So, for all of you women of faith and all of you women who are listening week after week and resonate with what I'm talking about, feel lost, feel uncertain, know they're called for something greater, but they're currently stuck in what is comfortable, they're stuck in the familiar. And you honestly want to get out of that. You want to be all that God has created you to be. Sis, I got you covered. Yeah, I've got an amazing mentorship that I provide to women of faith like yourself to help them level up, essentially equip them with the skills that they need to fulfill their assignment on earth and to shift their mindset, have a complete metanoia, have a complete transformation. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, click the link on the website and follow the instructions, and I can't wait to see you in the community. So like, share, subscribe. That's YouTube. But for the podcast lovers, download it, share it, tweet it, review it, all of that good stuff, and I shall see you in the next podcast.